Everybody, it's your boy Sheik here on this beautiful Sunday. Here again to give you guys a look ahead into this upcoming week. There's a few tickers I'm going to be watching, so let's jump right into it. First things first, let's hop into SPY. As you can see, last week again we had another bullish candle. We broke out of this 444 area, which was resistance for 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks about. And then we went and tested this previous high, as you can see, from last April, which was 450, and we rejected there. If we go to our daily candle, see this ugly little candle right here, we rejected right at 450 area, which, like I said, was previous area of resistance. So what I'm looking at this week is a potential pullback back down to this 445 area, which we have a gap fill right here, a small one. Potentially a move back down to 444 would be the ultimate retest of that breakout, which I would love to see. Of course, we have FOMC in a couple weeks, so we might have a pullback week this week just to retest this level before FOMC to possibly rocket back up or break back below. But I do want to see possible bounce right here after we fill this little gap. And then I'll also look for calls above this high right here of 451.3. Above this, we pretty much have a ton of space to go, as you can see, possibly being 460, the next level around here, 458. After that, probably 470, and then all-time highs are in sight. So that's what I'm looking at for SPY. I'm looking at puts off of the hold under 450, hold above 450. We're looking at calls. Like I said, I want to come back and test this 444 to grab some more calls to end the week, but I am expecting a little bit of a pullback. As you can see, RSI, we're pretty much overbought here. Every time we've reached this 100 area, it's curling back down. I do want to see a pullback maybe back down to here, so that would probably give us a nice little pullback to 444. So that's what I'm looking at for SPY. I'm going to mark my levels right here. Obviously, they don't have to be super accurate, but we want to break that high, 450, obviously a big level. I just want to mark that out. But yeah, 450 hold, gives us room to move back up. If we stay under 450, we're probably going to come down and fill this gap at the very least, and a possible pullback to this initial breakout we had over 444. So that's what I'd love to see. It's a nice little pullback here, so we can grab some calls for cheap. Now let's head into our next favorite ticker, which I'm holding calls in, Tesla. Tesla weekly candle. Look at this little hammer right here, a big hammer actually. Let me show you exactly what went on here. So we had this gap, we made this gap. Eventually we pulled back right onto the dot. We filled the gap and rocketed back forward right into this 285 resistance. So what I'm looking at is this close. So we closed about above 280, which has been a big level, which is what I like to see. So that's why I swung my 300 calls. Not to mention there's earnings for it. So as long as we hold this 280 level, possibly 275, I like it. I want to see a break of this 285 high for us to make a push to 300. I'm seeing, a ton of momentum coming in with earnings. I think we have a nice shot to push this up. And as I'm making this video, I think Tesla 24-hour trading is out and on Robinhood, and it looks like they're at 285. So we can have a significant push. What I want to see is a push to 300 before earnings. I might take a YOLO through earnings into this 314, 320 area, but those will be lotteries. What I'm looking for right now is to get this push up on my 300 calls and then sell before earnings. But that's the game plan. So what I want to see, a hold of this 280 and then the break of this high for more calls, to get into some more calls. So let's mark this out real quick. I want to mark my 280. Ultimately, we can come back down for this 275 area, 270, 275. I'd like 275, to be honest. Previous resistance, building up support right there. So I do like Tesla. Like I said, we have earnings looking like a strong name. Tesla's always been strong, but I do think we're going to get a push to 300, possibly even more if earnings are a beat. Now, Next name, I want to look at Netflix. So you can see I have this 450 marked. It's been a huge resistance level. We haven't been able to break above that for a while. So what I'm looking for is a break and hold above this. If earnings blow out, we can come up here and fill this gap to like 520 area. So basically keep your eyes on this. I might play a YOLO on this as well, just because if you see, all these earnings plays, boom, we've dumped on earnings last time by a significant amount, about 120 points, and then another almost 100-point drop right here, over 100-point drop. And then as earnings have gotten better, we've seen these big gap ups now, big moves off of earnings. So what I want to see is, since Netflix has been doing their password crackdown, they're reporting that their earnings have gone up. Lots of new subscribers. So if we can break and hold this 450, I want to see some lottos going into earnings and a push to fill this gap eventually. So that's what I'm looking at for Netflix. This 450 level is going to be the key. If we reject on it, we're probably going back down pretty hard. 415 area, 430, anywhere around there. But I won't play it, I don't want to play it on the downside unless, earnings come in bad. We can play it after earnings. But I'm thinking it's going to have some good earnings. As long as we hold over 450, we're going to see a nice little push here. Next up, I want to take a look at nvda. As we all know, nvda had a massive run up here. Just incredible run last week. So we dipped back down to this 400 level in the past couple of weeks. And this week we went down to this 415 area, held it. We skyrocketed all the way to 480. We broke previous all-time high, created a new all-time high. So let's see what happened on the daily. As we all know, Friday we made our money on nvda mainly. We saw a huge pump all the way up to 480, and then a gigantic rejection here back down to 450, 454 area. Now this candle does not look good. This is an upside down hammer. What I want to see is for us to pull back right here to this 440, because this is a huge gap that we left. Not a huge gap, $5 gap, but it's previous resistance that we gapped over, and hopefully the plan is for it to come down and test it. So what I'm looking for is obviously break under 450, come down to this 440. We could probably take puts under 450, come down 440, and if we can hold this gap right here, this previous resistance, I will load up on calls, because I think nvda is just unstoppable and is going to 500. So under 450, we play some puts, fill this gap just like we did with Tesla last week, and then we rocket back up. After we've filled the gap. So that's what I'm looking at nvda. Otherwise, I'm not going to touch it. I think we might even chop, but my ultimate level, 440, that's where I want to load up on calls. That's what I'm going to look at. If we even touch that and hold it, then we are loading up on calls. Same thing with AMD. It's partner in crime here. Let's clear this chart up real quick. Very ugly candle here. This 115 level we want to hold. If we break under this, we're probably going back testing this 110 area, this previous gap fill area. So we filled it, came back, obviously rejected, but ultimately if we can hold this 115 going into next week, we can push back over 120 and head back up to the 130s. I do have some calls that expire this Friday. They're 125s. It is what it is. I might just hold them, but what it's looking like, what this candle tells me is that we had a huge sell-off up here. It's upside down hammer, basically a gravestone doji, if you want to call it that. So what I'm thinking is we might actually break this 115 as nvda breaks down as well. So we might be seeing a retest of this 110. If we can hit this 110 again and hold like we did last time, we'll take some more calls on it. But again, just like nvda, I'm only watching a couple things on it. Mainly nvda, if it's breaking down, AMD's going to break down. But I just want to see certain holds. Not really going to play it unless I see a couple things happen. Now, those were the main ones I wanted to look at. What I want to check out is a couple different tickers that have been obviously breaking out. Coin being one of them. So we saw a huge push over that 100 hump. all the way to this 114 area, but ultimately my level is 112 right here. Previous support that turned into resistance. This is where I'm looking at. So if we can break and hold above this 112, then we're gonna probably push to 150. It's looking unstoppable. It's looking good, but we didn't need this cool off after we had this huge day. So I could see us chopping up in this range, this 100 to 112 range. But if we do get a break over this 112 as Bitcoin and crypto get some legs again, I want to see some calls in coin. Last but not least, I wanted to hop into Amazon. Let's clear this up real quick so I can give you guys a clear view here. Some ugly candles here. You know, indecisiveness is what this tells me. What I'd like to see is us come back down and fill this gap to 130 before we make a push higher. So that's what I'm looking on Amazon mainly. As you can see, we came up here, previous support, boom, turned into resistance. We've had trouble here getting up over it. Looks like we're having trouble here again in this 137 area. Obviously, we break this. We're looking at, around 140, 144 as our next level, 142, I'd say. So calls over 137. Let's work this out. And then puts if we hit this 130, 134 area, I'd say, because if we can break this, I think we're going to go fill this gap right here. So this is what I'm looking at on Amazon. I want us to go back down, fill this gap before we make another move higher. That about does it for this week. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys all on VC in the morning so we can make these plays. Again, I'll update some of these levels in pre-market as we see what happens. But let's make some money this week. Let's kill it like we did last week and keep this momentum going. I think we're in a bull market and there's a huge opportunity here to make a lot of money in the coming months. So again, thank you all for watching. Remember to like and subscribe on this video. Don't forget you can follow DTK Dreamers on all social media, and you can find me on my social media handles in the bio, and you can catch us on VC and our DTK Discord every single morning. Love you all. Peace.